The buddy cop movie you can't miss. One wide receiver got paid. Frank and I are going to fight about the draft and the debut of a brand new, never done before snake draft that you will not want to miss. That's my evil laugh. It's the best I can do. We got all that and more. I'm Jason Fitz. It's time for Zero Blitz. Welcome to Zero Blitz with Frank and Fitz. He's back. He got a little vacation. Frank Schwab back. I'm Jason Fitz. Frank, let's start with the most important thing. I'm wearing a Dave & Buster's hoodie here. This is a very intentional thing, my friend. I feel like it's time to start handing out some love to some places so that next fall we can do this show every Saturday, Sunday. We can hang out at a location. Why not Dave & Buster's? I go to Dave & Buster's so much that I actually have the gold legend card. I don't know what that says about my life, but I got the hoodie. I'm just repping, in case D&B wants to call us.
No, what are you at Dave & Buster's? Are you a pinball machine guy? Are you a skee ball? Are you video games, just sitting around drinking, watching sports? What do you like doing over there?
Okay, so first and foremost, I like accumulating tickets, right? That's the important thing. The card does that.
Guy.
So they got the little pushers where you can push the little coins going through, but there's one block thing where you get the block to stack all the way up and you get 1,000 tickets if you get it to stack all the way up. I am a maniac on that, so it's not uncommon for me to hit the 1,000 on that 3-4 times in a visit. Bangity, 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 bangity. I got everything. I'm on one today, Frank. I got a level of joy that we're back together. We're talking about Dave. Are you a pinball guy yourself, or
old school video games all day? I wanted to be a 1980s arcade. Give me Galaga, Donkey Kong, Miss Pac-Man, the fast Miss Pac-Man, right? That's a slow one, but the one that moves like hyperspeed, give me that all day. I'm good. You just drop me off for 5 hours, and I wouldn't even know you're gone.
Frank, come over to the house. I got the all the old Nintendo stuff, but also importantly, I got the full NFL Blitz arcade machine. That was an important one for me. And then NBA Jam, I've gotten the countertop
NBA
arcade
Jam's
version.
Great. It's just so great. Yeah.
And
you're probably a Tecmo Super Bowl guy, right? We have.
Oh my God!
Yeah, of course. I could probably play that with you for 14 straight days and that never come out. Maybe have some food delivered or something. It just would not miss the outside world whatsoever.
Kids, you don't know life until you had Tecmo Bowl as a kid, and
oh my God.
You had to grab a piece of paper to write the full code at the end of the game because that was the only way you It's such a luxury now to be able to save a game. We couldn't do that. Had to write down the code at the end of the game, and then it came up. And Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl. Come on now. As a Raiders fan, that was sensual, of sensual.
Yeah, that's we just need to. Why are we apart right now? We should be playing Nintendo and not even doing a podcast. But the podcast, hey, it'll be fun too. Why not?
I'm just saying we do this while we're at Dave & Buster's eating some of the delightful food, drinking the drinks. Come on, T&B, call me. All right, so, in Indy, everybody was hanging out, eating, drinking. They probably would have had a better time at Dave & Buster's, but they had the time of their lives with the Combine, and we got some news that broke out of it already today as we tape this. Mike Evans, back with the Buccaneers, 2 years, $55 million, $35 million fully guaranteed. My guy got paid, and all I can think is that must mean that they feel like they're confident that the Baker deal is also done. You don't pay that to Mike Evans, and he doesn't stay there if he doesn't know that his quarterback situation is going to be set.
You assume. I love this, though. For everybody who complains about free agency and guys moving all around, and you can't have any loyalty to teams and teams to players, vice versa. Gotta love the fact that a Hall of Fame guy, and Mike Evans is probably first ballot at this point, he's going to remain probably his entire career with the Buccaneers. Who knows? Maybe we'll get 2 years down the road and Mike's still balling and he goes somewhere else. But this just felt good. It felt right. When a couple days ago, and I know there's just posturing going on, you kind of rolled your eyes a little bit when the reports came out that, Mike Evans is going to hit free agency. That was all negotiating. We knew that. But to actually see him re-sign with the Bucs just feels right. It feels good. He's one of these, put him in the Ring of Fame. He'll be coming around 20, 30 years from now, being celebrated all the time by Buccaneers fans. I just love that. I love when a guy finishes his career somewhere it started, a great career where it started. And to your point, yes, I don't think Mike necessarily comes back if he doesn't think Baker's his quarterback or isn't comfortable with whoever his quarterback would be. But you do assume the whole time the Baker thing will get done. It's just a good match, and good for Mike Evans, good for the Buccaneers, good for all of us NFL fans. You get to watch Mike Evans keep playing there.
So let me stack the bricks together, right? The reports last week were that Mike Evans was going to go somewhere where he trusted the quarterback and where he thought he could win a Super Bowl. Okay. Now, I talked to Baker Mayfield at the Super Bowl during media week, and I asked him what was different in Tampa Bay. And he went on in such a real way about the lack of pressure he felt there, that, when he was with the Browns, it felt like the weight of the world was on his shoulders at all times, that he went into an organization that already had such a great structure that they understood him and that he immediately clicked with the weapons there. So he felt like for the first time in his career, he could just be himself and play. So now I'm going to put all of that together. You've got Baker telling me that the weapons are part of the reason he felt so comfortable. You've got one of the main weapons saying, I'm not going somewhere unless I believe I can win a Super Bowl and I know my quarterback. Now we have the Mike Evans news that he signed the deal. That's why I think it's inevitable now that Baker's going to be off the market and he's back, which makes sense because now you're keeping all of them together. And by the way, you're in a terrible division. The Bucs can win that division. So that gives you a chance. Like, you get in the dance, got a chance. The Bucs got to feel like all they got to do is run it back and not suck, and they'll be able to win that division.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know their ceiling. I don't know if they have a Super Bowl ceiling, but yes, why wouldn't they win the NFC South again next year? I mean, they should be. They'll be the favorites. I'll tell you that. The one thing we do have to worry about is Dave Canales left. He's now at the Panthers. We underrate when teams lose their coordinators. He was a big part of there's a reason he got a head coaching job. We'll see how they adjust after that. But yeah, you got to feel good about where the Bucs are right now. I mean, a lot of people expected them to be one of the worst teams in the league. I never really bought that. I also didn't think they were going to make the playoffs either. So they had a very good season and looking to build on that. They got a lot of work to do at free agency with other, not just Baker, and not just Evans, but, Winfield and a few of their other guys. But right now, the Buccaneers are off to a good start in the offseason.
So let me ask you a question. We didn't plan to talk about this. I'm just going to throw a scenario out at Frank Schwab. You ready for this?
Yeah.
They just paid Mike Evans $55 million, $35 million fully guaranteed. And we're about to see a lot of conversation with the value of wide receivers in general. T. Higgins, we know, is going to get that bag, right? Like, there's guys all over the place that are going to get paid. But we're also sitting here, and I looked at a mock draft the other day that had 6 wide receivers taken in the first round. Is there a point of diminishing return at the wide receiver position, though, where you're like, man, I love you, and I think you're great, but I can draft a guy that can come in and like wins above replacement. I can draft a guy that's still going to have immediate impact, and I can spend a lot less than $35 million fully guaranteed.
No, we're in a golden age of receivers, and I get what you're saying, but I think that when you look back to the Buccaneers Super Bowl winning team, for one example, one of many examples, what did they do really, really well? Of course, they had Tom Brady. They had to go. But they also had 3 ridiculous wide receivers. I don't think in this day and age you can have enough wide receivers. If I'm pairing Mike Evans with one of these first-round guys, I feel pretty good. And Chris Godwin's still there, too. He's still a baller. So when you look back at the Godwin, Evans, Antonio Brown offense, that's what made them great. You couldn't cover everybody. And so I get what you're saying. We're going to talk about the Vikings in a little bit and Justin Jefferson, and you say, boy, I mean, do we really pay this guy like he's a quarterback when we could just draft somebody to give us? And the answer is just, yes, pay him, and also draft somebody, because I think that's what makes teams really dynamic. If you don't have a Patrick Mahomes who could just carry you to a title, you got to do something else. And having these multiple weapons where you're just like, hey, we're going to spread you out, and good luck guarding them all because our quarterback's going to find the open guy. I think that is a key to being an elite team in the NFL. And I don't think you can have enough receivers. I don't think you can have enough cornerbacks. I don't think you can have enough pass rushers. The receivers just become one of those indispensable spots.
And you've talked me into it, and now I'm more convinced than ever that whoever runs your offense, whether it's your coach or your offensive coordinator, might be the most important person on your staff. Because I keep looking at what the Rams did with Puka Nacua and how that changed everything, right? Like, in a world where wide receivers are able to make such an immediate impact, you got to have a coach that's looking at that wide receiver group and saying, okay, how do we immediately get yardage out of this guy? Because I think that's possible. By the way, the Bucs have some other work to do. Presumably, let's presume they're going to get the Baker thing done. Part of the reason I feel good they must know that's done is reports are they're prepared to franchise Antoine Winfield Jr. I don't think that surprises anybody. This is the way teams like to do business at this point. You figure out who to extend and who to franchise while you work that deal out. So I'm not surprised by the Winfield part of it, but if they're tagging Winfield, they got to get an extension done by Tuesday, according to Jeremy Fowler. If they're tagging Winfield, it means they've either already done or they are positive they're going to do Baker Mayfield, because I don't think there's any way you'd leave your you-know-what on the table with that one.
Yeah, and, I mean, I'm writing for later in the week, top five free agents at each position. I did quarterbacks. I didn't even want to write the Baker blurb because I'm like, he's not going to be a free agent. Like, this is going to happen, whatever. Like, it felt like a waste of time. That's how I feel about Baker Mayfield and the Bucs right now. It's like, of course this has to get done. Like, it's just such a good fit, player, team. And then, yes, let's assume that gets done, like you said. Antoine Winfield's a heck of a player. And look, Honestly,
there would be a huge market for him. Let's just stress that. Like, he hits the open market bidding war.
Yes. This NFL, where a versatile safety like that means so much to your defense, Winfield he'd get the bag for sure. This is why I hate the franchise tag. This is why I honestly don't really like NFL free agency. Most guys don't hit the market. We'll see a few, but it's like a handful of impact players because the franchise tag is really misused. And not misused. It is used smartly by teams. But this is not what the franchise tag was meant to be. When they put in a franchise tag back in 1993, I think was the start of free agency, it was meant so, hey, John Elway's not leaving Denver, Dan Marino's not leaving Miami. We'll give you guys free agency, but we need something in place to protect our star quarterbacks, right? Now it's like, well, yeah, we'll give it to some safety. We'll give it to some offensive guard. Some teams have even used it on kickers because why not? You got one every offseason you could use. That's not good for players. It's not good for movement. It's not good for interest in the game. It's definitely not good for free agency because we're going to get to the end of the legal tampering period that Wednesday when free agency officially starts. So we're going to be like, oh, this is it? These are the guys left? It's just the franchise tag was not meant for this. But if you're the Buccaneers, I'm 100% using it on Antoine Winfield. Why let one of your best players walk? If nothing else, it just gives you more time to get a long-term extension done with him. And he deserves it. He's a heck of a good young player. Really, really good for their defense. I assume at some point this summer they'll get a long-term deal done, if not earlier than that. So, yes, go ahead. Use that franchise tag on him.
Anybody that's spending money in free agency, to me, any team, they've got to look at it like a stopgap. It's a Band-Aid, right? Like, it's not a cure-all. You have to draft well if you want to be a great team in the NFL. Like, that's just that simple. You have to win at the draft. To me, it's like, at some point, slow and steady wins the race with all of this. Like, if you want to lose a bunch of weight and keep a bunch of weight off, then you got to change your lifestyle, right? Like, you got to do it the right way over time. I have 3 friends in my life. I hope they're not listening to this. All they got gastric bypass. They lost a bunch of weight quickly, and then 4 or 5 years later, poof, right back to where they were. Why? Because it doesn't change your habits. To me, that's what free agency is. Like, you can go in and spend a bunch of money, and for that minute, you're like, yeah, we look good, right? But if you don't start drafting well from the outset, you are going to end up right back where you started. And I don't think sustainably any team can use free agency to build their team. Free agency is supposed to be the sprinkles on top of the cupcake. It does not make up for bad cake or bad frosting. It's just the sprinkles. I am obviously hungry today.
NFL free agency, the gastric bypass surgery of the sporting world. There we go. There we go. We got it. We got it. No, you're a team like the Commanders, and you have 90. This morning I looked. I think it was $96 million of cap space, and the Titans have 80 million, and the Bears have 70 whatever million. And it's like, great. That sounds awesome. And then it's like, oh, well, who are we spending it on? Like, there's a couple good players. But mostly you're going to be overpaying kind of mid-tier starters. And because anybody who's a top-tier starter has been franchise tagged, they've been extended, they've been, it's almost a curse to have all this salary cap space because it's like, all right, you got to go to a shopping spree at the store, the shelves have all been rated, right? Like, what are you spending?
But that salary cap space is really intended, if you're doing it right, to eventually sign your T. Higgins. Like, you should have that money so that when you've drafted well and you got to sign the guys you want to keep, you can keep. Now, there are a couple of big names. Tyron Smith, the offensive lineman from the Cowboys, is going to hit the open market. Injury issues have definitely hit him, but he can still play. And I think, knowing that he's taken a discount in the past for the Cowboys, like, they're not going to ask him for a discount. He's going to go out and command a pretty good market, I would think, wherever he goes, right?
Yeah. I assume so. But there's a reason he's hitting free agency is the injury risk, and he's aging. And could a team like the Titans, who desperately need some offensive line help, especially with their second-year quarterback Will Levis, could they overpay him on a short-term deal? Yeah, I could see that. The Jets need offensive line help, a team like that. But you have to understand what you're getting into. If you're expecting, okay, we're paying Smith and we're expecting 17 games out of him, well, probably not. But yes, I still think he's got some good years left. Still think he could play. And we both know desperation at offensive line in the NFL is at an all-time high just because it's hard to find 5 good linemen for your team. So if somebody like a Smith is out there, even if you think like, boy, this guy might miss a quarter of the season, it's still worth it for those 3 quarters of the season he's getting.
Yeah, there are not 32 caliber starting tackles in the NFL. There just aren't. So anytime you can get help there. Also, Christian Wilkins, 28 years old, coming off a monster season.
He's the guy, yeah.
I'm stunned he's hit, like, I think there are plenty, especially in a league that values edge rushers so much. If you've got one of those great edge rushers, if you're able to put somebody dominant in the middle also, it changes the entire way that the game goes. Like there should be, and rightfully so, will work out to be a massive bidding war for Christian Wilkins, because I think he impacts the sack numbers so greatly for any team that has power on the edges, that has speed on the edges, it can get after you from the edge. He's going to be able to absolutely collapse the middle of that. Like, worth every dime. It's rare I say this. I think he's worth every dime.
I agree with you completely. And he checks pretty much every box. Still at a prime age, good character from all we know, draft pedigree, consistency. He really hasn't missed. I don't know if he's missed any games in his NFL career. It's been rare if he has. So he checks all. When you're a team like, get to my perfect fit for him. But if you're a team that has a lot of cap room, and you're like, who am I spending this money on? Yeah, maybe you put a little bit extra money into Christian Wilkins. You overpay him, so to speak. But you know what you're getting. You're getting a rock-solid guy who could immediately help your defense. In some of these cases, he'd be the best guy at some of these defenses he'd be going to. So I was a little surprised. I mean, I know the Dolphins are kind of up against it with the cap. That's what happens when you do make these splashy moves, Tyreek and Jalen Ramsey and all this. You run out of cap room for guys like Christian Wilkins. That's kind of the downside of making these moves. The team I really, really want to see land Christian Wilkins is Houston Texans. I'm so enamored with the idea of the Texans just becoming this contender for the Chiefs right away. Like, they're just going to use this CJ Stroud rookie deal, maximize their cap space until they got to give CJ Stroud that massive deal. That sign a guy like Wilkins right now, front end that thing. You have the cap space for it. He kind of fits what they want to do character-wise, all that kind of stuff. Love that fit. Or a team like the Bears. I'm interested to see what the Bears do this offseason. But to me, the fact that we're looking at Christian Wilkins actually hitting the open market is he's the one guy out there who I'm like you said, it's safe. I don't really have any questions. You know what you're getting out of Christian Wilkins. It's a very, very good football player.
Two guesses where I think Christian Wilkins would particularly, standing right next to Max Crosby. I'm just saying, like, Christian Wilkins right in the middle next to Max Crosby. Like, you got to take on Patrick Mahomes. You got to take on Justin Herbert. Just let me live a little bit. Got a little money to spend. Put him with the Raiders. Put him in Vegas. He goes from Miami to Vegas, has a glorious time, changes the defensive front a little bit for the Raiders. Like, just let a man live. Just let a man dream. All right, and Frank, I understand it's never that easy, but you just him and Max side by side. Oh, that would be a delight.
Fantastic. Yeah. And again, he's going to get overpaid, quote unquote. Your value is whatever somebody's going to pay you. So I hate even using the term overpaid, but we know that, a team is just going to have to go over the top, because when you look at the landscape of guys who are out there who can actually impact your team, who are still at a prime age, it's very, very short. It is a lot shorter than we like to say. We like to make free agency into this huge thing. Oh my God, free agency starting. And then it's like, there's this 35-year-old guy trying to get one more contract. Guys, stopgap guys. And Christian Wilkins is different from that. He's a guy who could be a foundational guy for your team the next few years.
Let me ask you, speaking of old guys, and I say that as an older guy, but speaking of old guys, like, is there a reason that we're sitting here just rolling our eyes at the concept of, well, Kirk Cousins is 35 coming off the Achilles injury. Is he really worth the money? And then, like, I literally heard a radio show this morning just bag on Kirk Cousins, and then 5 minutes later tell me that the Jets are Super Bowl contenders with Aaron Rodgers, older than Kirk Cousins, coming off of the same injury. Like, what the hell are we doing here? Like, it's got to be one way or the other. Either we believe quarterbacks are miraculous now and can just come back from an Achilles injury and have no issue, or we got to believe that they're all going to suck after it. Like, I can't have this willy-nilly both ways on it.
It's the Kirk Cousins thing where everybody just wants to trash Kirk, which isn't fair. But I will say this, like, what do you think of Cousins right now? Because me sitting here, he's been a good player. What's the ceiling right now? He's going to be 36 this season. He's coming off this Achilles, and you can say, oh, he doesn't run anyway. What does it matter? It matters for your mechanics and everything else. Like, it is a big time injury to come back from, and you still need your lower body to throw the ball. I just would be worried, unless it's one of those, we drafted somebody, we can get Kirk Cousins for 1 year, and he's going to be a bridge guy. But I don't think Kirk's taking that deal. So, I think the team, we keep coming back to, he's just to re-sign with the Vikings. Like, why? Well, we've seen this movie back when Kirk Cousins was healthy. You're not going to a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins if you're the Minnesota Vikings. Try something else. Like, I just don't know what the market is for Kirk Cousins other than, boy, we ain't got no other options at quarterback. So I guess we just got to sign Kirk right now.
Yeah,
I say this, by the way, is not as a Kirk hater. I think Kirk's a good quarterback. I just think right now, 36-year-old Kirk Cousins coughing off a major injury. What's really the ceiling there?
I mean, for me, look at what Minnesota's been the last few years. So you got to ask yourself, if bringing Kirk in is going to make you a Super Bowl contender, is your team better than Minnesota? Because that's like the easy sort of line in the sand for that. It makes a lot of sense to bring him in somewhere if you are right on the edge and you just need 1 year of productivity, maybe 2 years of productivity, and see where it goes from there. But I'm with you. I wouldn't bring him in unless I have a long-term plan at either a rebuild or I know what my quarterback situation is going to look like in 3 years. Because I'm not banking on him one way or the other. Speaking of guys, I'm not banking on Brandon Staley added to the 49ers staff. That was big news at the combine. I can't say this loud enough. I don't care. I mean, Brandon Staley, by the way, got a high grade. I don't know if you saw this in the NFLPA report cards. When they graded their coaching, he got, I think, a B+ from the Chargers. So players like him, which is awesome. But who cares? We make this big deal out of the fact that, the whiz kid is going to the 49ers. It's like, okay, he's going as like an assistant head coach. We don't even really know what his role is going to be, what difference that'll make. I just think we're blowing this up because everybody has such hot opinions on Brandon Staley. But to me, the wins or losses that it creates is literally zero. I don't think any more or less of the 49ers than I did before Staley was on their staff.
You're probably right about the wins and losses. I find it interesting from Staley's point of view. And we're not far removed from everybody loving Brandon Staley. Everybody thinking he's going to reshape the NFL. And then it kind of fell apart, whatever. But he's still a young guy. People could learn from their first experience and the mistakes you make. And going to the Shanahan tree now is going to kind of become a thing. Like Kyle Shanahan's kind of this guy who's putting out, I mean, his tree is already better than Bill Belichick. That's kind of low-hanging fruit for me right there because everybody knows the Belichick assistants and their issues. But if Brandon Staley could kind of regroup, learn some things, learn from his mistakes, go on this redemption tour, do it better than Josh McDaniels did a second time around.
But wouldn't he have to admit his mistakes to learn from them? I mean, we're talking about a guy that repeatedly went into the same situation over and over and over again and did the same things in every one of them. So Brandon Staley has given me no proof of concept that he looks at himself and says, how can I differ what I'm doing? He's just sort of a guy that's like, you've got to figure it out. This is my way, and it's going to work. I will die on this hill. And he died. So, for me, I hear you. If he's humbled and comes in and wants tremendous personal growth, but damn, man, if losing your job, the threat of losing your job didn't make you look in the mirror and figure out how to grow, then I'm not sure why this has that effect.
Yeah, maybe be a down 42-zip to the Raiders at halftime of your last game as a head coach really has a come to Jesus moment. I don't know, but we'll see. I think for the 49ers, though, the big part of this is Brandon Staley, obviously. Why did he get that Chargers job? Because he did a great job running the Rams defense. The 49ers obviously fired Steve Wilkes after 1 year. Nick Sorensen got promoted, but you do have to wonder, you got this guy who was a former head coach, former very well thought of defensive coordinator, didn't work out with the Chargers. I get that. At what point does he factor in that defense? Is the specter of him even on the staff undermine Sorensen getting promoted? Who's going to be really running the defense? And Shanahan and the 49ers have been kind of quiet about this and what their plan is. I think that's if you look at it just from the 49ers, what's immediately in front of you with Brandon Staley to the 49ers, it's what kind of impact and influence is he going to have on the defense? And is it a good influence? His defenses were terrible at the Chargers, so maybe not, but it's going to be really interesting to see from their kind of staff dynamics how Brandon Staley factors in there.
One more important note that came out of Indy, and this might be my favorite thing that just sort of fell under the radar and needs more attention. First and foremost, it reminds us all of a great Sam Cooke song, Chain Gang. That's the sound of the men working. All right, the Chain Gang might be coming to an end. The NFL may start implementing laser ball spotting, which to me, I say, Frank, what the hell took so long? There is already a microchip in NFL footballs. If there's already a microchip in NFL footballs, how are they not already just tracking the movement of it in a way that they can automatically from the booth be like, oh, no, that's first down. It seems like it would be easy to do.
Drove me absolutely nuts for years. If you follow me on Twitter, you have heard me complain about the spotting of the football, which is such an important thing in an NFL game. How many times are we sitting there watching some key fourth down and somebody gets tackled and the rest just come in blindly stumbling around I think it's about right here, and then they're measuring to chain lengths, millimeters, a half of an inch. It's not that precise when you spot it. How could you measure it that precisely? I've seen tennis do this for years with it. Is it out or is it in on a serve or whatever? And just think, Why can't the NFL do this? The fact that they're going towards this is a company that makes more than $20 billion a year. You can spend some money on some first down technology. And yes, I guess if you're really nostalgic about dumb stuff, the chain gang going away is going to make you sad, but it ain't going to make me sad. Get it right. Get the spotting of the ball right. I don't know why this didn't happen 10, 15 years ago.
I'm imagining a world where underneath the grass is an entire digital, essentially like a mesh, right? And it always knows where the ball is on the mesh. And immediately they still have the orange chains on the side, but there's no actual link to any of it. It's just literally standing there. And the minute the ball is stopped, the computer can turn around and be like, it is second and 1 yard and 3 inches. Like it'd just be like second and 1.3. I'm like, all right, there we go.
Because there's a difference too, Fitz. We know this. Like when they're telling the coach like, oh, it's 4th and 1. The coach is like, well, what do you mean by 4th and 1? Are we talking about the full 3 feet? Are we talking about 12 inches? What are we talking about? So I think that, yes, look, I get it. Technology's kind of taking over sports. Some people hate that, but let's get it right. This is just, yes, this needs to happen. So I don't want to sit here and complain anymore about these referees stumbling in. They have no idea where to put the ball. One referee's over here at the 30-yard line. The other's over here at the 31-yard line. They're like, I guess let's split the difference. Let's not do that anymore. It's just, it drives me insane. It literally is one of my pet peeves watching NFL football.
And the less that refs have to do during the game, the more likely maybe they'll do the things that they are supposed to do better.
I love that. I love that. You are dead on. We ask these refs, we complain about them all the time, right? But we ask these guys to do everything. And it's every year, how many times this time of year when they get together at Combine, the competition committee, oh, we're adding these 5 things of emphasis, so these 3 new rules. Well, maybe simplify this for the refs a little bit. That's a great point I hadn't even thought of. Well done, sir.
All right. Well, we're just getting started here because not only do we have a snake draft for the ages, new feature coming to you every single week on Zero Blitz, but Zero Blitz with Frank and Fitz is about to become the one thing you didn't know you needed. A buddy cop movie. That's coming up next. We're back, and I'm not sure who's good cop or who's bad cop, but I know it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty as we will take a look at some of the rumors that have come out of the last week of Indy, and we will approach it buddy cop style. Frank, I think maybe I'm bad cop. Like, you're too jovial. Like, the first time I hung out with you, all I wanted to do was hug you. Like, you're too huggable. Like, I watch a lot of Law and Order. Like, one of us has got to be like the guy that sits back and says, hey man, you want a cup of coffee? I'll get you. You need a cigarette? Sandwich, like, one of us needs to, like, that's me. That makes me good cop. And well, no, that's you. So I don't know. Are we both good cop? Can we get any in?
I get to be Danny Glover, you're Mel Gibson. Like, do you really want to jump? I think you're in that mode right now after all of your energy drinks and your iced coffees and all that. So I think that's the way to go. I think I could be the Danny Glover of this buddy cop relationship.
All right, so we'll let the fans figure out who's good cop and who's bad cop. Both of them. Both fans can chime in. In the meantime, we will figure this out as we're going to take a look at some of the biggest rumors that we're hearing, and we'll figure out buddy cop style. We're going to grill the rumor. And the first rumor of the Vikings are willing to trade Justin Jefferson if an extension can't be agreed to. All right. I'm going to just play this a little bit maniac. What the hell are you thinking? Like, what are you possibly going to get back for Justin Jefferson that makes you any better than you are right now? And if you're not going to get anything back for Justin Jefferson that makes you better than you are right now, all you're doing is telling your fan base, hey, we're okay sucking. And I don't think that's ever the right message. On top of that, even if you bring in a new quarterback, do you think a new quarterback would be better with Justin Jefferson than they would be without them? This is the stupidest damn rumor I've ever heard because there's no way you're getting return back on this. I'm angry. I think this is all a lie. Tell us the truth. That was my bad cop.
That was pretty good. I do think this is one of those dumb internet rumors that just gained traction for some reason because I do agree with you. Why the hell would you trade Justin Jefferson? Even the Vikings were like, no, we haven't even thought about that. But I mean, the one thing you do have to say about this, and I'll get to the caveat. We all know it. The Kansas City Chiefs did trade Tyreek Hill, won 2 straight Super Bowls. Like, if you can just get the Godfather offer for Justin Jefferson for a team that has all this cap space, nothing to do with it, you say, wow, well, like the Chicago Bears. Maybe Chicago Bears like, we're going to have a rookie quarterback for the next 4 years on his rookie deal, whatever. We'll just give you whatever we have all these extra draft picks. Here you go. We'll give Justin Jefferson whatever he wants. I know they wouldn't trade in division. Now, the caveat to all the Chiefs trading Tyreek Hill is nobody has Patrick Mahomes except for the Chiefs. And usually when you trade away one of your best assets, you don't get better like the Chiefs did. I get that. But there is a world where I could see like, hey, like what can we get for Justin Jefferson? If it's the world, maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't do it. I think Justin Jefferson is great. I think he's going to Hall of Fame someday. But everybody has a price. Virgil, RIP to Virgil. But invoking $1 million man here, everybody's got a price. Maybe you just pick up the phone and say, well, what do you offer? Well, we'll listen. Probably not doing it, but we'll listen.
Look at that. He went good cop. I went bad cop on that. All right. Let's go to the next rumor. This one, I'll take a little good cop on this. The Giants, according to Connor J. Hughes of SNY, this is a quote. The worst kept secret of the NFL Combine might not just be that the Giants desire to select a quarterback in the upcoming draft, but their willingness to trade up to go get a quarterback in this year's draft. The problem, though, is will there be one to go up there and take? All right, I'll take good cop on this. I'm just going to slide the coffee over to the rumor mill on this one and say, hey, guys, I get it. I understand why this is a rumor. Like, you didn't intend to get here. You didn't think this is the way it was going to work out. You gave Daniel Jones a reasonable deal thinking that, hey, this is going to be our opportunity to really bridge this gap. And now maybe it's not working the best. And you look around at these quarterbacks and think, I don't know, like maybe somebody wants to drop just a few spots in the draft. And if we could convince the Patriots who have a bunch of needs to drop just a few spots in the draft and get ourselves the third best quarterback in this year's draft, well, hope can come with that. And then you're giving Daboll the opportunity to work with somebody that's maybe more in the mold of what he wanted in the first place. You know what? I think this is, I understand this, buddy. I understand where you're coming from.
I'm coming in. Yeah, I'll bad cop the heck out of this because what are you thinking with this? For one, it really wasn't that reasonable of a deal for Daniel Jones. It was just kind of one of these, we're so happy off a playoff season that we're just going to give you whatever you want, Daniel. And it has aged really, really poorly. My problem with this whole rumor scenario, whatever you want to call it, you need a partner. I always love this. I'm based in Denver. You don't know how often I hear like, why don't you just trade up and get Caleb Williams? Well, because the team with the number 1 pick might not be trading it. They like Caleb Williams too. And the team with the number 2 pick might like Drake May. The team with the number 3 pick probably going to take Jaden Daniels. Like, why would these teams trade? I don't get this. I get it. The Patriots have a lot of needs. You know what their number 1 need is? Quarterback. And they're going to get a good quarterback at number 3. Why on earth would they trade down? Like, this just never makes sense to me. It's one of these things. It's like the silly season, right? Where we just have a lot of time to kill before the draft. We still got about two months before the draft. So we just concoct all this stuff like, oh, the Giants are going to trade up, get a top 3 pick and get a quarterback. Why would any of these top 3 teams trade away? Like, we're pretty sure the Bears aren't at this point, although there's an argument for it. I just, great, you want to trade up. So what? I want a Ferrari. Nobody's selling me one, like at least for my price range. Like, it's just, I think it's nonsense in a way of wasting time because I don't think the top 3 teams are moving any of their picks because why would they? They all need a quarterback.
I love your analogy with the Ferrari, and all I can picture now is Frank walking in with a Post-it note, and he's like, I shall write my price down on this Post-it note. You just slide it over to the dealer. The dealership.
I do have a Ferrari of Denver. Ferrari of Denver is not far from my house. I've kind of toured it, yeah.
You slide the Post-it note over to Ferrari of Denver, and they just look at it, they say, all set, thanks. No, thank you. Yeah, we're good. We'll pass.
We're good.
We're good. All right, so the next rumor that we shall good cop, bad cop in our, Fitz and Frank buddy cop movie is that the Chiefs will tag and trade L'Jarius Sneed. Allow me a moment here, Frank. You're telling me that coming off of a Super Bowl that you won in large part because you had a great defense, that now you're going to take one of the best players on that defense, one of the absolute, the pillars of this defense, one of the reasons you won a championship ring in a year you shouldn't have, and you're going to tag and trade him to somebody else? Like, where are you suddenly replacing L'Jarius Sneed? And also, I don't mean to be the one to remind you of this, your offense sucked this year. You won because you had L'Jarius Sneed and Chris Jones. So maybe instead of just continually making Patrick Mahomes' job tougher, you actually keep some of these guys around, figure out a way to keep them there because that's your best chance to win a Super Bowl. What in the hell are you thinking?
Yeah, maybe a little pullback on the suck thing, but you're right about the defense. The defense was great. This was a defensive team that won a Super Bowl, but L'Jarius Sneed, if it's not going to work out, it's not going to work out. He wants a long-term deal. The Chiefs apparently don't want to go down that road. This could be go out there and find what's out there in the trade. Come back to us. It doesn't mean you're going to trade him. It just means, hey, you can find out your market. Maybe you'll find out it isn't as good as you think it is, and you come back to us. I do just at the end of the day, kind of like the Chris Jones thing last year, I just think it's going to work out. They know, the Chiefs know, L'Jarius Sneed is very valuable in what they do. He's so versatile. He fits Spags' defense so well, what they want to do. He allows Spags to be very, very creative. I think this gets worked out. But I'll say, hey, maybe a team out there, again, how many teams are out there with all this cap space and nothing to do with it? Maybe there is a team out there that's like, well, L'Jarius Sneed, pretty good player. Maybe we trade something for him and pay him. I could at least see it. The Chiefs aren't scared to trade away stars. They did it with Tyreek, as we just talked about. I can at least understand it, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's just going to work out and Sneed will be back.
I'm just imagining Mahomes sitting in his living room and he sees it come across the ticker. Come on! Just making it difficult for him every day. All right, the next rumor on the block is that Drake May is sliding. And, here's the thing, Frank. I get it. You did great work, Drake. You had a really good college career. You came into the year with so much momentum. Some people, like our very own Nate Tice, still think that you should be the number 1 pick overall in the draft. And that's a reminder of what's important here because, hey, everybody's got their favorite flavor of ice cream. If you ask 10 people who the best band of all time is, they might not agree on who the best band of all time is, right? Everybody has their own personal tastes. Some people like Ferraris. Some people like Lamborghinis. Some people would prefer Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels to Drake May. And it doesn't mean anybody's right or wrong. It just means styles make fights and different people like different styles of quarterbacks. So, you know what? Don't think of it as sliding, Drake. I understand this rumor because, frankly, you can have brilliant people look around and say, that's great. That's great. Just not for me. If you're out there dating, sometimes you see the most beautiful girl in the world, but I don't know. I actually prefer girls that are shorter. All of a sudden, it doesn't mean that the tall girl wasn't beautiful. It just means maybe it just wasn't for you. So Drake, don't think of it as a slide. Think of it as finding the perfect match for you. This rumor makes sense to me.
We didn't script this, but I disagree with you on just about every one of these things. He ain't sliding.
We honestly didn't script it.
I was like, even before we're like, we're going to agree on everything like we usually do. I completely disagree with you here because he's not sliding. Going to number 3 is not sliding to me, and he's not getting past number 3. I say this knowing that last year Will Levis was top 5, 6, even higher at some mock drafts, and he ended up legitimately sliding. A slide to 3 is not a slide. It's just some people prefer Jaden Daniels to, and that's fine. That's perfectly reasonable. But if I'm sitting there, again, this is why I don't think the New England Patriots are going to trade because they're just sitting there saying, we'll take any of these 3 guys. They're all awesome. We spent so many months talking about Drake May and how great he was, and maybe he's even better than Caleb. And like you said, our guy Nate Tice and others have having this as a QB1, and I get every reason why. It's pretty clear Caleb's going number 1 to somebody, right? That's just, I think right now anyway, that's all the smoke coming. And then at number 2, what's your flavor of ice cream? Do you like Daniels? Do you like May? You're going to take one of those guys. And then at number 3, the Patriots are going to take, if Drake May slips to number 3, they're just going to take him there. I'd be blown away if there's some scenario where it's like, I hear, again, based in Denver, Broncos fans be like, maybe Drake May will slide all the way. No, it ain't happening. It is just one of these, to me anyway, I've seen Drake May play. I've listened to our guy Nate. I totally trust all of this, that Drake May is going to be a heck of an NFL player. He ain't going to the second round like Will Levis did. That ain't going to happen. That's a slide. Drake May ain't getting past 3. I would bet.
No. Even if Drake made it to 4, I believe that the Cardinals would get so many phone calls for 4, they'd have to move, especially because the Cardinals' biggest need in the eyes of most of us is wide receiver, and there are 3 epic wide receivers that they'll be able to get. The Cardinals can move down to 6 or 7 and still get that quarterback. By the way,
because in this scenario, that probably means Marvin Harrison goes 3. If the Patriots are just like, whatever, we think the world of this guy, well, then the Cardinals are sitting there. Yeah, I mean, they don't have Marvin Harrison anymore. What are they going to do? Draft one of the tackles at 4 and pass up all these trade offers from the Broncos or whoever else needs a quarterback beyond them? They're just, I'd be even, I guess there's a scenario where Drake May goes to 4. I ain't buying it. I'd be stunned if he's not the number 2 guy. I really would. And there's no offense to Daniels. If he goes 2, I wouldn't have any problem with that with the Commanders, but wow, I just main pass at 3. It ain't gonna happen.
Frank, do you know what my iced coffee has in common with the Chiefs offense for most of last year?
That sucks. Is that what we're doing? It's gone. It's
sucked.
There you go.
Sucked.
All
right.
So I can't believe you said the Chiefs offense sucked. That was.
It did for most of the year. It did.
Mahomes is too hot. Sometimes I need to. What's the antidote to way too much caffeine before we start taping a podcast? Because
feel free. I got another one in here. So we've gone from drink 1 to drink 2. Now it's just things are going to get even weirder. while we're talking about trades we don't think will happen, the Washington Commanders will trade back out of the number 2 pick is a hot rumor out of Indy. To this, I would say, I'm going to channel my best Law and Order here. Are you ready for this, Frank?
Yeah,
I feel good about this one. If you tell me the truth right now, I can help you. But if you keep lying to me, there's nothing I'm going to be able to do for you. I won't be able to help you once we get the actual information if you don't tell me the truth right now. Because this is such a damn lie. Like, this is the stupid. You want to tell me that a new coach with a new ownership group that's trying to get a new stadium, that's trying to rebuild an entire brand to not be what they were under Dan Snyder, is now going to look around and say, you know what, we need a quality offensive lineman that we can sell an entire fan base on. This is the dumbest damn rumor I've heard out of Indy. The Commanders are going to either stay where they are or move up, and I 100% guarantee they will take a quarterback.
I was going to say you sounded just like Ice-T there, but I realized then it was the wrong show, right? Like there's
no,
SVU,
that's a different Law and Order SVU. I'll take that one. I mean, it's not my favorite, but yeah.
I thought I was talking Ice-T right now. Yeah. Finally, we agree. This is nonsense. The Commanders fan base would revolt. Like, I can't even imagine what I'd feel like as a Commanders fan if you're like, oh my God, we're getting one of these guys. Oh, there's Daniels, May, who knows, Caleb Williams. And no, we're going to trade down with the Broncos at 10. We'll figure our quarterback next year. Hey, what? You're trying to sell tickets. They're the one team in the NFL trying to sell tickets. You can't do that. Like, there's no chance. Like, I guess there's some like scenario where the Broncos, because Sean Payton's a maniac when it comes to just, we don't care about the future, we just care about right now, that they just offer their next 48 first-round picks or whatever. You just have to say yes. But no, why would the Commanders trade out of this spot? Like, they're in a great position to draft a very good quarterback, which they need desperately just to rejuvenate the fan base a little bit, like to get this thing going in a positive direction. They're looking for a stadium. They're looking to sell tickets. You need a quarterback for that.
I honestly believe that the Bears and the Commanders could both, as organizations, be offered 5 first-round picks in a couple of seconds, and they still wouldn't draft out.
I wonder what the price is. I wonder what the price is, seriously. Like,
I don't think there is a price. I think for both of them, it's like, that's cute. And we're just going to keep going about, like, if you're sitting there, and I'm not saying any of these prospects are the next Andrew Luck, but like, there's Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence, there's certain guys, Joe Burrow, by the time he was drafted, there were some people that had questions, but Joe Burrow, by the time he was drafted, like, there are certain guys that you look around and you're like, yeah, I don't really care what you offer. I need that guy. I think the top quarterbacks in this year's draft are that, which then takes us to the other rumor that the Patriots will trade back out of the number 3 pick. Now, I want to dedicate this Buddy Cop movie. You know, sometimes they put dedications at the end. This Buddy Cop movie is dedicated to 2 of our bosses, Ryan Spoon, Sam Farber, both huge New England Patriots fans. And this is where in my Buddy Cop movie, the Patriots come in and say, we're thinking of trading out of the number 3 pick. Well, gentlemen, this is where I say, you know what? I love it. Tell me more. Tell me more. Just get it off your chest. What's it going to take to get this done? And this is all because, frankly, Frank, I need my beloved Raiders to trade into the number 3 spot to get a quarterback. So what's it going to take, New England? What's it going to take to get this done? Because once you get it done, you're going to feel so much better. Look around your roster. It's not good enough. We all know it's not good enough. And you have so many holes that you need. Maybe the best solution isn't to focus just on one quarterback, especially if that quarterback is a quarterback like Jaden Daniels that struggled behind a less than quality offensive line in college. I think maybe when you're worried about that, maybe the best solution is to trade on down with your buddies in Vegas. Go and get it off your chest. Let Vegas get up to number 3, and you guys can just take best player available for the next couple of years with some extra first-round picks. I appreciate that, New England. I'm here. I'm here for you.
You tried. That was a valiant attempt, but you are
Thank you.
So dead wrong. Again, you're not trading a franchise. The only time I can see this, look, if you're the Patriots and you're like, we really like these 2 guys, but Daniels, there's this or that, or May, there's this or that, and that guy falls to you, and somebody, again, the Raiders, the Broncos, whoever it is, just calls you like, we're freaking out here. How many first-round picks do you want? I think the Patriots might be the one team that says, I guess, like, this kind of does make sense. Our roster stinks. Like, let's replenish things. We'll worry about quarterback later. So, but no. Again, quarterback is so valuable in the NFL. When it's staring you in the face, I do believe any of these 3 guys would be the first pick most years. They just happen to be in the same draft class. You ain't passing. You ain't passing on this. Unless you just, again, get such a ridiculous offer and you're a little lukewarm on the guy that falls to you. Nah, but I don't think that happening. I think the Patriots getting a quarterback in the future.
All right, so if quarterbacks are that valuable, what about the rumor that the Bears are going to get a 2nd or a 3rd rounder for Justin Fields? To which I just, at this point, this is what I do. That's all. That's all. There's a buddy cop. I slam my hands on my desk and I walk away because I know you're not telling me the truth at this point. You're wasting my time. I'm here trying to get this interrogation done. You're just wasting my... If you're telling me that somebody's going to give up a second for Justin Fields, you're wasting my time. If you're telling me somebody's going to give up a third, then I need to know who your boss is. It's time to start tattling on whoever's giving you this information because I need to know who the head man is. Whoever's making this happen is obviously the real criminal here because there's no way a third rounder should happen for Justin Fields.
Are you thinking lower?
Yeah. Conditional fifth.
Wow.
Conditional fifth.
Wow. Come on.
Conditional fifth.
Come on.
Make it a fourth if he actually plays well. Like, make it a fourth if he gets a new contract. Like, but there's no way. You have 1 year to rent a player that's going to have to learn his 87th offense in his limited amount of time that he's been in the NFL. And that's going to be your 1 year rental to figure out if you're actually going to pay him. That doesn't make any sense from a trade standpoint. It's
not a 1 year rental. You're paying him. That's why they can't get a first for him, because you got to pay him right away. You just have to be like, we are all in on Justin Fields. There's no time to get to know each other. Like, we're all in. We're marrying you right now based on what we've seen from your film, the progress you've made. I like Justin Fields. I think the Bears are perfectly smart to draft Caleb Williams and move on. It makes sense with the finances of the game. But I do like Justin Fields. And if you're a team like the Falcons that really has no path to a quarterback because you didn't want to sign Lamar Jackson, then give it up. I don't think they're going to regret trading a second-round pick for Justin Fields. I really don't. I think
you can't give up a second rounder for Justin Fields.
That's your quarterback of the future. He's 26 years old. He's a guy who was drafted 11th overall, I believe. He's played well in the NFL. He's a great playmaker. He's getting better. He's not there as a passer, and I don't think he's ever going to be great as a passer. But I do think this guy can be really, really good till he's, the next 4 or 5 years until his legs, he has to.
But Frank, how often does Love is Blind actually work out? This is Love is Blind. You're both sitting behind some screen and you're like, no, like Justin Fields is like, I'd really like the Falcons. And the Falcons are like, well, I really like you, Justin. And then all of a sudden, one of them asks the other to get married. And then they go through the tunnel and they're like, okay, like it's better than I thought it could be. And they start together, but then they got to live together suddenly. And all of this is being sped up because you don't have your usual 4 or 5 years to get it done. You've got like a couple of weeks to get it done. You've got a season to get it done. You're trying to figure all of this stuff out, learn each other while you're going on, work out your trust issues because the Falcons have trust issues with quarterbacks while Justin Fields has trust issues with teams. And all the while you're trying to figure out how to communicate and fall in real love, and that process never works. Love is Blind never works. This will never work also.
I thought you'd go Bachelor before Love is Blind, but hey, whatever. You throw me curveballs all the time. Yeah, I think that you see Justin Fields play NFL football. Like it's not like the Falcons are like, wow, this guy's a complete unknown out of college. Like they've seen him play and they know what he can do. And if you want to, or the Steelers, whoever's going to invest in Justin Fields, it's a two-part pour here. You're trading a draft pick, you're getting a player, but you're also giving him the contract. There's no way there's a 1 year rental. Like if you trade for him, you are signing him to a long-term extension. And I'm okay with that. I really am. I think Justin Fields is a good player. Maybe not great. Maybe never going to be great, but great quarterbacks aren't available. Like you settle for good. You try to build a team around him. And I think a team like the Falcons or Steelers would be perfectly reasonable to trade. Then look at the history of second round pick quarterback. You're going to get DeShone Kizer. You're not getting Justin Fields very often. Like you're going to get Davis Webb out of the third round. You're not getting Justin Fields. Like what? Who cares? Like go spend to get what you get. He's a top. What would you put him? 12, 13, 14? Like in that range anyway of above average. I'm fine trading with the second or third for Justin Fields and giving him money, which is the second.
Look, I'm Jack McCoy at this point. We're going full in on this Law and Order debate on the sentencing here. I am not striking a deal with anything more than a third. And a third I don't love. But I can talk myself into it. You get into a second, no, you've lost your mind. We'll see you in court. I mean, that's when we'll see you in court.
We're not negotiating this anymore. Like, yeah, we're not taking a deal. There's no bailout for the DA here.
Oh, boom. But okay, so that's our buddy cop as we ran through all the headlines. Oh, one more real quick. JJ McCarthy, top 10 pick. I skipped that one. JJ McCarthy, top 10 pick.
Probably. Somebody's going to talk themselves. I mean, it's a little bit of the Christian Ponder syndrome where you're like, well, I mean, we're going to overdraft him, but that's the last quarterback on the board who we like. So why not? Like, I think that's going to happen. I do think McCarthy's going to be top 10.
I think the more interesting conversation that will come out of the quarterbacks is who's going to trade back into the bottom of the first round to get either Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. because you want that fifth year. Like
Yeah,
if you really love the guy, you want that 5th year. All right. So it is time to debut a brand new weekly feature that we're going to do here. It's a snake draft of the week. All right. So we're going to pick a different topic every week, and we are going to snake draft. I don't know. Stone, producer extraordinaire, is going to have to tell us how we pick who gets the first pick in this draft, because it is a snake draft. So Stone, let Stone pick a number. The number's either 1 or 2. Frank, you can pick that. Frank, what number is Stone thinking of? 1 or 2?
I would go number 1.
I go first? I go first. Woo! All right. Man. So I got the first pick in the villain draft, and we all know where I'm going. I actually did a little research on this.
Did you set this up? We're drafting movie villains. I think this is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I didn't set this up. We're drafting movie villains. We just came off of Buddy Cops, had us thinking of bad guys, and we decided that it's going to be a different topic every week. You can, by the way, tweet us with topic suggestions on this. But yeah.
Oh, I'll draft on any topic, too. What's better than a draft? Like, I got fantasy baseball drafts coming up, and I'm excited.
Now,
like,
I'll
draft anything.
I've never played fantasy baseball before.
Really? I love fantasy baseball.
You got an open spot in your league on Yahoo League?
Yeah, I might. I do have many Yahoo leagues, and we'll talk after. But I love fantasy baseball. Fantasy baseball is like the ultimate nerd game. Like it is nerd. Like everybody's got fantasy football league, right? Like fantasy baseball is where it's at. Like I love fantasy baseball. It is fantastic.
I am going to play fantasy baseball for the first time this year and chronicle the whole thing. I've decided that, so we'll figure out how it goes. All right. So the topic of the week: movie villains. We are going to draft. Each of us, we're going to go through Snake. We each get 3 picks. I am on the board first, and then we will let America decide who had the better draft of movie villains. And with the first pick overall in the 2024 movie villain Zero Blitz draft, Jason Fitz selects Darth Vader. This one's easy.
It's like being a fantasy basketball and having the first pick. You're not passing on Joker. It's an easy pick. Yeah.
100% Darth Vader was going to be this all the way. Darth Vader has terrorized generations of people with his hands and with his voice. So look, there was no doubt the Star Wars nerd in me was excited, hopeful to get the first overall pick simply so I could get Darth Vader. That puts you on the clock for the second overall pick.
I will go with Thanos here because, you watch these movies, the Avengers, you know what's going to happen at the end, right? But there were times during those movies where I'm like, is Thanos really just going to win? Like, is he that badass? And we're just having Thanos beat all the Avengers? Like, I was almost convincing myself that was how these movies were going to end. So just for his general dominance, I would say I would go with Thanos. Thanos probably would do great at the Combine, right? Like he'd blow it away. Like,
can I tell you an Avengers story here?
Please do. Yes.
We were out on tour with Brad Paisley doing this big tour, and Brad bought out an entire movie theater to go watch the new Avengers movie, whichever one it was. I don't remember. So it's like 2 a.m. after the shows are done. We go into this theater, unlimited snacks and drinks, and we're all sitting there, and the movie starts, and I lean over to the guy next to me. I'm like, all right, who's that? And he's like, that's Loki. And I was like, awesome. Who's Loki? And he's like, you need to get the out of the theater. And that was it. Like, I have never seen any of these movies. I am so clueless on the Avengers movies. Like, I was kindly asked to leave the Avengers because I didn't know who Loki was. So Thanos, I understand only because I'm around enough people that love him, but I can't reference it. All right, that gives you're back on the board.
You're back on the clock, yes.
You're back on the clock, so you get your next pick.
I'm like the New England Patriots not trading the third pick. We should have done that. We should have. This is a 3-hour podcast where we're trading picks. I will go a little curveball here. We went with kind of 2 threatening, badass villains, number 1 and 2. I like movies where by the end, the villain was so good, the character was so good that you're like, maybe he should have been the main guy. I'm going to go with Clubber Lang because it crosses over the sports movies too. In the history of sports movies, I don't think there's been a better villain than Mr. T as Clubber Lang. I almost went with Apollo Creed. R.I.P. to Carl Weathers. He was awesome in Rocky 1 as kind of the Muhammad Ali of that movie, right? But when I watch Rocky 3, and I've watched it many more times than I'd like to admit, Clubber Lang is awesome in that movie. Like, I get to the point at the end of the movie on my 500th time watching it where I'm like, why didn't Clubber get a third fight? It was 1-1. He should have got a third fight. Why are they keeping him down? This awesome story of this guy from Chicago who's just working on a barn or something, and he beat the heavyweight champ after calling him out at his statue presentation. Clubber Lang, Mr. T, Rocky 3 was freaking awesome. One of the great characters in any movie I've ever seen. I will die on that hill. Clubber Lang is my number 2 pick.
So I'm stunned because everything you said in the setup had me thinking you were going another direction, and I am now ecstatic because I'm getting I never thought he'd still be available. When you said I love a villain that's so good by the end of the movie, I find myself rooting for him. I want more from that villain. That to me is the epitome of Heath Ledger's Joker. Like the Joker in that movie was so incredible to me that every time I rewatch it, I'm mesmerized by Heath Ledger's performance. It's I think one of the best modern movie performances I've ever seen. And that version, you could take any of the Jokers. Like the Joker's always on that list, but the Joker, particularly Heath Ledger's Joker, like that one eerily gets me every single time I see it. So I amazingly run to the board. Same thing I would have said about, we said the same thing about our second pick, but it's Snake Draft. I get my third pick and I'm going to go straight to I think this was tough for me because as most people know, I'm a Halloween fanatic, like absolutely Halloween fanatic.
Like the movie or the holiday? Like you're talking about the holiday?
The entire scary movie, horror movies are like the whole season, all the Halloween, like all the scary movies, all of these things. And so it would be easy for me to take some of them, but I think some of them have become caricatures, right? So like the Michael Myers, the Jason Voorhees, the Freddy Kruegers have all become too caricature for me to take them as my number 3 pick. But there is one horror movie that I watch every time it's on, and the entire time I watch it, I feel uncomfortable. And it's because of the performance in it. So I'm going to go with Jack Torrance from The Shining as my third biggest villain of all time, because the performance in that movie, I get uncomfortable no matter how many times I've seen The Shining. Halfway through, I find myself just wanting to pause it, walk away from it for a minute, and then come back and reset for it. Like I just got to set that icky off my skin. So so that means my final 3 ends up Darth Vader, and then I get the Joker, Heath Ledger's version, and then I get Jack Torrance from The Shining. I feel good about I got my 3.
You're doing really well here. I can't lie. Great picks. Almost went with Jigsaw here because I love the Saw movies. I think they're crazy and awesome. I actually did a Saw escape room in Vegas, which was awesome too, by the way. They recreate a lot of the rooms from the movies. Phenomenal. I loved it. But kind of keeping with my theme of my second pick, I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm taking all of Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai was freaking awesome, right? Kreese, Johnny, the guy screaming out, get him a body bag, all of them. By the end of that movie, and I know it's a great bit from How I Met Your Mother, and I'm just going to steal it, but it's almost like the Karate Kid was actually Johnny, because we're all rooting against Daniel LaRusso, because Daniel LaRusso like went to Japan and immediately had everybody hating him and wanting to beat him up. Like it's just because Daniel LaRusso is horrible. Like you almost find yourself rooting for Cobra Kai the more you watch those movies. I'm taking all of Cobra Kai. Everyone. I don't care if this breaks the rules. I don't care, Jay. Fitz, I'm going to Cobra Kai.
I'll give it to you. By the way, every time I hear anything from the Karate Kid, the Cobra Kai or the movies, I always think of the Chicago song, the I am the man who will fight for your honor, because it was in Karate Kid 3. Oh, I just remember that scene
Karate
so
Kid
much.
3 is an abomination of a movie. My God. I have not seen that thing. Like, obviously, I'd seen the first one a million times, right? The second one's like, it's kind of bad, but I've watched it a lot. I didn't watch the third one until like maybe 5 years ago. Like, I don't know why I'd never watched it. I watched that thing like, oh my goodness, who greenlit this? This is terrible. Like, everything about that movie is just off the rails and awful. And I almost to the point where I was like enjoying how bad it was. So, yeah. But the song is great. A lot of great songs. There's Joe Esposito, you're the best around. Come on, we all know that song.
Oh my God, that's a bit. All right, so let us know who you think won. We'll put it up on social and put it on a poll and let people vote on it too. We'll figure out who the winner of it was. You can let us know on social media, obviously at Jason Fitz, at Yahoo Schwab. Also, let our producer know at SJ Rochelle. And also, if you have any great ideas you have for snake drafts, you can let your voice be heard. The people will be listened to every week until the draft. We'll come up with a different snake draft topic. In the meantime, C-Mac back tomorrow with the exempt list. I'm back on Thursday with C-Rob and with Jory. Leave us that 5-star review, especially for the snake draft. Rate, subscribe, tell your friends, your family, tell everybody to hang out with us every single week. We'll see you next Monday.